Alright, so I'm Ben Breland, and I'm working on RPI's titling system for this summer. So a little bit of a background as to how this whole thing started. Basically, in video production, there are lots of professional suites out there, which you can imagine are super expensive because pretty much only large companies are buying them anyway. So for local TV stations or for student-run organizations, it's pretty much way too expensive to even try. So several years ago, because a lot of our members were computer scientists, they decided to write this themselves. And so I'm kind of picking up where they left off and adding features to it. Basically, the titling system has two key components. There's a graphic generator and image tier. And both these things are completely, you can swap one completely out for something you write yourself, and it'll still work completely on its own. So it's very, the exact SD&D term for that is, but it's very modularized in that sense. And they're named pretty much based on their functionality. The graphic generator generates the graphics, and the image tier keys the images on the video stream. I'll go into more detail in a second. So the graphic generator consists of editable templates for the different types of graphics you'll have. And these store different various information as to the geometric pieces of what the title will look like. So like a box where you'll have a name inside of, and whatever color it is, any gradients on it, something like that. And so you'd be editing these templates to add a new type of title. So you can see we have store, player stats, goalies, if you've ever watched any sort of sports thing. That's basically kind of what we're going from here. And it uses these templates once you've entered information in there to render the images. It's stored in XML, the template, and it renders the images as a PNG. And it pre-renders these before you're using it live, just so that in a live production environment, you generally don't have the time to be constantly rendering things in addition to outputting them and doing everything else while everything is really busy. Well, you could, but we don't have millions of dollars, so you have to manage something. So that PNG image is transferred to the keyer to be overlaid on the video. This is all done by HTTP. It's actually basically two servers that are running doing each of these things, which may not necessarily be the most ideal, but it was the easiest for everyone to code, and it's the easiest for people to pick up and maintain, which is very useful. So here is a user interface of once the different titles have been rendered. So you can see in the upper corners, there's just a log of the different commands that are going through. That way you can make sure that everything is, at least on your end, working properly, since it is two different servers that are happening. Also on the left, you have your library of different titles to go up. And you can choose any of these. When you pick a title, for this case of starting goalies, it would be appearing in your preview, which isn't yet live. It's just letting you preview and see before you want to put it out. And when you choose to make it go live, it goes to your program feed, which the conventional standard is red, just to make sure everyone is knowing that it's currently live out on air. And that's where it'll be once you're actually using that title. So this is the user interface for during the game. It's still kind of sketchy creating the titles, and that's one of the things we're going to be working on later on in the summer, is making it easier to edit titles in addition to putting them up. And this is currently for a women's hockey tournament. So the image keyer, the broadcast standard for professional video is HDSDI, which is a high definition serial digital interface. And so it takes in whatever signal you give it, the HDSDI. It pulls apart that signal into all the different discrete components it may need. It overlays the PNG image on the different frames of the video, re-embeds the audio, packages it in HDSDI, and then sends it out. Which is very useful, and it's very compatible with pretty much any other system of professional video. So we could send it to Time Warner if they're in the field house, and they would still be able to use it. And so this is what the final result ends up looking like. So you would have your standard shot from, say, a hockey game, and then overlaid on top of that is the title that you're putting out, and it has great opacity and whatever the PNG supports as well. This actually has two things keyed on it, but the logo just always gets keyed on, so we don't really worry about that. Any questions?
Is it a 33-year-old hockey player?
No, he's number 33. He is, he doesn't give his birthday, but he's approximately our age. So
Could you describe what you'll be doing this summer?
oh yeah. So the things that I'm doing this summer are, I'll go back to this a little bit more. I am going to be working on creating a render queue for the different files, or for the different titles. That way if you're doing a whole bunch, particularly if you're doing it while you're doing it live, you're not just trying to bottleneck through like a ton of different things at once. And I'm also going to be working on automating different ones, like being able to easily say like, oh, all the player statistics got updated, we need to update like 30 at once. And so those two things kind of go hand in hand, and that's what I'm working on right now. Later on in the summer, once that kind of gets completed, I'm going to be working a lot more on the user interface functionality and whatnot, like I said. Just because originally it was designed for the person who's using it. So, as we all know, that kind of leads to, some shortcuts because you know how it works. But when somebody else, say someone who just comes to RPI and wants to try this out, it can be a bit scary, especially, when you're on air, like whatever the game or something like that. So that's what I'm going to be working on for like the second half or so of the summer.
Is it only for, right now, designed for sports, for games?
We have used it for pretty much everything else, but this is probably when its feature set is being tested the most in terms of like, you have this many different types of things and this complex of titles going on. Like we've used it for like Dancing with the Stars or Dancing with the Stars and other things, but generally you just need a tiny little bar with someone's name. So we generally test it in the most intense environment.
Makes sense. Cool.
Any other questions?
Thank you.